Hey there. I'm John Hartness. I'm a science fiction and fantasy author, publisher, editor, podcaster, and it's time for some real talk. If you follow this channel, you'll notice that I missed a couple of weeks. I haven't uploaded a new video in a while. If I did my job right, then you didn't notice it all that much because I do have content coming. But I missed a couple of weeks of 5-minute book reviews. I missed a couple of weeks of writing life. Well, that's because life gets hard sometimes, and this past few weeks is one of those sometimes. I deal with depression, and I deal with anxiety and bipolar, and I deal with that pretty much every day. And middle of this month was real hard. February 9th was my mother's birthday. She died September 1st, 2014. February 12th was my dad's birthday. He died last June. So this was the first time that I haven't had parents on their birthdays. And with them being so close, my whole life, my family celebrated those two birthdays simultaneously. I didn't know whose was what day until I was in my 40s. It wasn't until I was driving my dad to eye doctor appointments at the VA and he was giving his birth date again and again that I finally caught on that his was the 12th, because his birthday was 2/12/29, February 12th, 1929. And if I would have remembered the synchronicity if it was 2929, February 9th, 1929. So that hit me a lot harder than I expected it to. Now, it wasn't exactly a newsflash that my dad was dead. I was there for a lot of that. But I didn't expect... There was a lot I didn't expect about this grieving process. I didn't expect it to take this long. I'm not done with it. I still have days where I miss him. I miss them both. But I didn't expect it to basically wreck me for a week. I didn't do a whole lot that week. I didn't do a whole lot of anything. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering on the computer. I watched most of season 15 of Criminal Minds, which reminds me, I think the last episode might be up now. And I read a good bit, but progress on Black Knight Chronicles number 8 slowed to a crawl. I did finish. That's why I was not doing any recording last week. And we were pushing to get a lot of books out. So every bit of bandwidth I had went to doing the things that I had to do to get deadlines met, or deadlines only slightly missed. So I didn't do any videos. I didn't talk about the books I read that I enjoyed. You can go see those now. Those videos, or at least one of those videos, should be up by the time you're watching this. But what that leads me to talk about today is there's a thing lately, and it's a trend among writers that I don't think is good. I don't think it's healthy, and I don't think it's safe for a lot of people. And it's this idea that your word count every day is how you measure your effectiveness, how you measure your professionalism as a writer. I have been as guilty as the next person of telling people you have to write every single day. I was wrong. You don't. Your writing career won't suddenly nosedive if you don't write every day. You're not going to lose every contract or every contact you've made in the writing world if you don't finish your chapter today. Real life happens, and there are things more important than your book. This is how I make my living, and there are things more important than my writing. My family, my wife, my brothers, my sister, my nieces, my cousins, my friends are all my mental health. All of those things are more important than you getting 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 7,000 words a day. Because the idea that you can only be a writer if you're churning out 2 million words a year, that's bullshit, man. I should just resign myself to never getting any kind of monetization on this channel, because I'm not going to be able to do videos where I don't swear. Writing is very personal. If you're doing it right, you're probably touching something deep, something personal to yourself. People ask me, when am I writing the sequel to Amazing Grace, which is a book I released in 2016, 17? I think 2017 maybe. I love that book. It's one of my favorite things I've written. It's also one of the most personal things I've written. My mother is a character in the book. I certainly couldn't have written that while she was alive. And now I'm not ready to mine those personal experiences this close after my dad's death. So that book's not happening for a while. I need distance from that to be able to write it. So self-care is really important. You've got to take time for you. You've got to take time to process what's going on in your life. And you've got to take time to live. Man, if I wanted to work 14 hours every single day, I'd have kept a damn day job. Robert Earl Keen did a live recording once, and he talked about he decided to get into playing music for a living because he liked to stay up late and didn't like getting up in the mornings. So then he got a gig where they were going to let him come play on the radio. And they said, be down here at the station at 6 a.m. And he decided, this is not working out, man. And that's the thing. These are creative endeavors. You have to be in a good headspace to produce your best work. Middle of this month, I wasn't in a good headspace, and I wasn't able to produce good work. Now, last week, I was writing just fine. I was writing my happy little behind off because I was 2 months late on my deadline for Black Knight 8, and I needed to get that book finished. And then I had revisions on a short story that I had to turn around pretty quickly. So that one, the first week of no productivity led to no videos in week 2, as I was catching up on things that actually do pay me. And then, we'll always find excuses not to do things, which is why I'm shooting this on my iMovie FaceTime built-in camera thingy in my computer instead of set up over there with the shelves behind me looking all nice, because There's laundry drying on a rack in front of my shelves, and it's a whole thing. It's been a month, y'all. But sometimes it's just going to be a month. It's okay. You don't have to write every day. You don't have to write 5,000 words every day. I can't. I write a lot. I write fast. I can't write at that kind of pace and not have it be worth a shit. I turn in really clean copy the first time, so I can't do that at that kind of pace. So take care of yourself. Give yourself permission to not write. I promise you, nobody is going to die of liver failure if you don't get your book turned in on time. I used to say in my old job, which was theatrical systems design and construction, we built buildings. But whenever somebody would get all up on me about, oh my God, we've got to get this done, we've got to get this done, I'd have to say, look, y'all, we are not shipping kidneys. Nobody dies if this doesn't happen today. Maybe it needs to happen tomorrow so it can happen better or it can be done right. Words are like that too. Videos are like that. This is not my greatest technical video by a long shot, but it's real. So I said something at Dragon Con last year. There was a guy in the audience, and we were talking about how to build a career as a writer and what to do after you finished drafting your novel. And he said, well, what do you do when you can't write every day? He said, I have bipolar and I can't write every day. And I said, well, I have bipolar. So when you're manic, you write a lot. When you're not, don't write. If I've ever said anything on a panel that was worth hearing, it was this. Don't let somebody else's arbitrary benchmark, don't let somebody else's bullshit guidelines be your benchmark for success. I don't get to tell you what makes you a writer. I don't get to tell you what makes you a success. I have many friends who are at varying levels of success by their own definition or by the greater world's definition. Some of them are New York Times bestsellers, and that's fantastic for them. That was the goal. Some of them have seen their book on a shelf in Barnes & Noble, and that was the goal. Some of them put a book in their parents' hand or their kid's hand, and that was the goal. But you get to figure that out. Not me, not anybody else. I will work hard in these videos to give you tips to help you be more commercially viable. Sorry, my beard was bugging me. But I can't give you any guidelines for being happy as a writer other than you do you. Do your thing your way. And screw anybody who tells you anything different. So take care of yourself. All right? That's what I had to do. I took a couple of weeks off from shooting these videos to take care of myself and take care of my family. Now I'm back, and I will come back and swear about something in the publishing industry profusely next week, I promise. But for now, I am going to go have a beer. Actually, a cider. Look, I'm an old fat man, and I have the gout, and beer makes my foot hurt. So I won't go have a cider. You go have your beverage of choice. Water, ginger ale, tequila, whatever. But be good to yourself. And be good to one another. Okay?